and welcome to another edition of the Voice of Workers podcast. My name is Amlola Pedro, and with me on the show, of course, like you all know,
it's your leader.
Yeah, he calls himself my leader. Congratulations to you. Today we have a very, very interesting dynamic, a very interesting perspective that we are bringing to the conversation. Like we have said in the previous episode, this season we are focusing on informal workers across Nigeria, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
informal
today,
and platform workers.
gig workers in Nigeria. And the perspective we are bringing today is, of course, something within that sector. But before we proceed, I think he would like to introduce himself or something.
Yes, but which category of workers do you belong to?
Thank you very much for that question.
All right, I'm Juwon Sonyaolu. I'm co-hosting this podcast.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So like I mentioned, we have an interesting perspective to the conversation.
Yes.
We have had app-based workers. We had boat riders.
Yeah, the conversations with the Uber folks was quite...
It was very interesting. Yeah. And I've been seeing the feedback.
Especially from union members.
Yes, they are engaging. They are watching. They're like, thank you for speaking our minds. We are going through a lot. I'm like, so this is what is going on in this country.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that after this conversation, we would have the same feedback.
Yes.
From the concerned parties at the end of this conversation. And that's why our guest today is somebody who has been working in this particular space for a while now.
A professional.
A professional. Thank you. A professional. Our guest today is a social justice activist. She's a women's, girls, and children's rights activist. She is the founder of the Center for Children's Health Education, Orientation, and Protection, popularly known as CHOP. I'm sure when you hear CHOP, some of you are like, okay, is this woman?
This one is not Hope 93.
No, and it's not renewed.
It's not renewed.
It's CHOP. Our guest has also, worked as a journalist, where her stories has driven impacts, attracted awards both locally and globally, and I think that's very commendable.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So she's doing a mix of journalism and activism.
Yes.
Advocacy, everything. In fact, let's just say she's a powerhouse. Abi, you don't agree with me?
Drum roll, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with us our guest today, the founder of CHOP, Miss Betty.
Comrade.
Okay, I should call her comrade.
Comrade.
Like that last time, they went to call that woman comrade. She said, "Don't worry, that we should just call her Mrs. Something.
That is a comrade.
Comrade Betty Abba.
Let's give her.
You're very welcome on the show,
so
comrade. It's so nice to have you here with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of because before we get into the nitty-gritty of the question, before you came here, you talked about the fact that you had to leave some of the children you are working with.
Yes.
It would be good for you to take 1 minute to speak to that, because you did mention how depressing it is for you to leave them.
Yes.
Maybe you want to take 1 minute to speak to it.
Thank you so much. It's still part of what we do with people from the informal communities. So we have this very exciting project of gathering children from about 6 communities around Lagos: Makoko, Ajigunle Ikorodu, Monkey Village, Fagba, Irede Island, and then from Motan, Mowe in Ogun State, coming together for an art curation event. We had about 60 children coming to do different kinds of artistic expression. Canvas, oil on canvas, pencil sketching, painting is amazing. I couldn't believe what I saw today. I worked with some of these children for over 10 years from across most of the communities. I didn't imagine that we're going to see this kind of thing. And then so the person that also inspired the entire thing is a 15-year-old girl in Indiana in US. who is an artist, an award-winning artist herself, a college student, who wants to get the work and exhibit them in US. For the children to talk about their environment and their hope, their dreams for a better life. It's amazing. Sketches, paintings about Makoko, about the demolition, about fishing trade, houses on water. Is just amazing. And when I had to come here, I was almost getting depressed. Yeah, but I'm happy that it concluded sweetly in my absence, and I'm really happy to come and talk again about another issue concerning informal people, informal communities, informal sector, the demographics that are the most oppressed around us. So it's still part of the work, but I'm really, really happy about that project. It's extremely exciting.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much for shedding light on that. And we are very impressed and encouraged by the work you do, you and your team. I know it must be very exhausting.
Very.
Yeah, because sometimes it may even look like, is this even rewarding?
Yeah.
Because there are times that you just get tired one day. I'll be like, I'm not going today.
I think for everyone who works with who do the kind of work that we do for humanity, which is not business, which is not politics, and it's not as if you are inspired or gingered by the financial aspects and all of that. You get to some point as I think I believe that for every one of us, you get to that point and you say, I beg, who even send me this work? Yeah. Because sometimes you encounter people that you are trying to fight for these people, but they do not even appreciate. They fight you back, and I say, my God, I mean, is it God that sent me, or I sent myself on this errand? But then I think for much of the time, it's really emotionally rewarding when you see people doing well. Some people from some of the young people from our communities going to represent us in international conferences and shining. And I mean, you see also result. You see when communities come under the demolition, because much of I started with focusing on youth entrepreneurship, youth empowerment, but then I had to become an overnight fiery activist working on housing justice. There's no way you work in these communities and see what's happening that you turn a blind eye and say, no, I'm just working on education.
Except if you are the devil yourself.
Yes. When the thousands and thousands of children you're working with do not have that housing security. You're working with 500 children in Makoko today, and tomorrow you come to the Gbame, where we're working with like 700 children, and then we came and then we could not trace the children anymore. Like almost not. Right now we don't even have.
Just vanished.
I mean, how wouldn't you talk about it? Especially because this is an issue of injustice. Because most of almost all these demolitions, as far as I'm concerned, are illegal. I mean, they are from the point of contact of the powerful, those with access to resources, those with access to power, those with access to the machinery of propaganda, mass propaganda, oppressing the poor, the very poor, the people at the fringes, the voiceless, and displacing them. I mean, sending them into further destitution rather than helping. There's no way you will not talk. There's no way you will not be mad.
Yeah.
So that's just what it's all about. And we're happy that in many of the cases we speak out and then they retreat because they're actually cowards. They know that they're coming from the point of illegality. Imagine going to Monkey Village and say, we're giving you 30 minutes to move out. I mean, how is that even possible? People that traveled for that Christmas and New Year period had their houses pulled down, everything turned to rubble. At the end of the day, we discovered that it was government officials working in cahoot with land grabbers.
Wow.
That this was not legal at all. At the end of the day, they ran away and the landowners took over their lands. Well, see what happened in Makoko recently, where there was a mass demolition. You had been in talks with these people about relocation, and then you come overnight and say, no, you are extending beyond the accepted corridors of from the power line. We are going to take 30 meters away, because that's what the law requires. And then you go 500 meters into the community. From 30, you say 50, then you say, okay, 100. And then you go 500 meters, and then you tell the people you just have to get away because our plan is to mow down the entire community. And then with all us getting to the media, with protests, calling them out and all of the campaign, they had to stop, because it was also discovered that at the same time the Lagos House of Assembly were budgeting billions for each of their members to get houses in Abuja, I mean, how does it even make any sense? You're displacing tens of thousands of people around the city and you're budgeting billions for each of the members to get houses in Abuja, which is not even a part of Lagos. I mean, does it even make any sense? So why are you there? You're displacing millions. I mean, rendering them homeless. And some died in the protest because it was violent, like most of what we've had in the past. Going into the community, tear gassing people. We lost about 5 newborn babies.
Wow.
And then other people, about 12 people. And then at the same time, you're budgeting billions for yourself. And you're supposed to be the one serving these people. And during election time, you come to them to get votes. So they just had to stop. And that was how a full stop was put to the demolition in that earlier that we had earlier in the year, affecting Makoko, Woroshoki, and so many other communities. Demolitions was all over the city. They were taking down houses, driving the poor into the streets, with many people that had even their paper. Yes. So calling them out, campaigning, speaking truth to power, especially exposing their very satanic, illegal activities has worked most of the time. Look at what happened in Todogame. 2 people were killed. About 300,000 people were displaced. But now they cannot go to reclaim that land because the community won the government. And they cannot even, they promised they were going to appeal the case since somebody's time. They haven't been able to do it because there's actually no ground. They have no ground to displace that kind of people without any form of compensation, relocation plan, nothing. I mean, so I mean, and this is also where these things happen. Unlike many parts of the world, where the biggest news that comes out of Lagos, the biggest news that makes international headline, is about the savage treatment of the urban poor. And so we keep calling out this, and so many times we're able to get some result. During COVID-19 period, there's a community called Ifelodun in Okera. During the lockdown, the Lagos state government sent bulldozers into the community and was tearing down people's houses.
During
lockdown. At about April, May 2020. It was amazing. So people called my attention to it, say, Betty, we know you are into demolition. This is what's happening. So we raced down to the community because I couldn't believe it. We had to go down to see. And we saw people outside who had been displaced. So we started calling out the Lagos state government. And social media is also a very powerful tool for calling attention to this very widespread viral
That's become the
form
street
of
parliaments.
Yes. The Lagos state government was so embarrassed. That evening, they put out a statement that they were stopping it. And they stopped it today. The people are still there.
Till date?
Yes. In the Felodun community in Okera. Yes.
So come on, let's talk about domestic workers.
I know I had deviated.
Yes, no, it's okay. It's okay.
It's relevant to
the conversation.
Okay.
But let's speak about domestic workers. Who are they? And where can they be found?
Okay, so domestic workers are people, most of the time, who work in homes, either as full-time workers, living domestic workers, or people that come in from outside that work in the homes. It could be cleaners, people who do washing, gardeners, but they generally work within the environment, the home environment.
That's why they call them domestic
workers,
right?
Yeah.
So basically, our cooks, nannies, cleaners, caregivers, laundry guys, here and there.
Yeah, domestic workers. Yes.
So these are the kind of work. In fact, I like the fact that an average person watching or listening to the podcast, by the time you watch episode 1 up until this very recent one, you would have heard a conversation that actually aligns with what you do.
Yes.
Because here we've talked about hotel workers, we've talked about bar attendants, we've talked about fuel attendants. I mean, these are workers that are not found in boardrooms. They are not found in administrative rooms. But they are workers. They contribute to the economy. As a matter of fact, they make up about 52% of the working class community. That's informal workers.
Generally. Now 92%, they are in the majority, and it's growing. It's growing,
it's
very
growing,
fast.
especially considering the economic realities of the country and even the unemployment rate. Everyone is trying to create a survival means for themselves. So I understand that your organization is involved in children, education, and protection. So I'm going to speak to protection, particularly in relevance to the domestic workers' rights work that you do, is it possible that there are also children who are domestic workers? In your work that you've been doing so far, have you encountered
Yeah.
such?
Like
Yes.
Yes.
child labor.
A lot
child
of the time.
domestic labor.
A lot.
A lot of times.
Incidentally, yesterday, June 12th was the commemoration of the International Day Against Child Labor. So this is just a good coincidence or timely. Of course, we work with children, and our focus is on vulnerable children. And these are children that have undergone or are facing all kinds of abuse, all kinds of vulnerable situation. And so domestic workers are some of the most abused children. So when we work with children that are at risk, there's no way you will not come across domestic workers. Or somehow cross your paths. And so looking at the statistics, domestic workers, child domestic workers in Nigeria make up about 25% of the domestic workers that we have in Nigeria.
25.
But 25%, I actually believe it's higher.
A lot of them are undocumented.
Yes. So, and you have them mostly in big cities like Lagos, where we are,
in Abuja.
Port Harcourt and Abuja, and they undergo all kinds of dehumanization. For instance, we started a shelter for women. One of the about 20 women shelter in Nigeria. So we run a shelter. We call it Adult Orphanage, and it started during the COVID-19 period. And our focus or vision, actually, motivation for starting it was to bring in women whose lives have been threatened by domestic abuse, because there was a spike in intimate partner violence during the COVID-19 period.
Yes.
But over time, a large number of the people that have come into our shelter are actually teenage girls who have been sexually abused by their madam's husband from different parts of Lagos, especially. It's amazing. And I would say that is a silent epidemic that nobody is really talking about because of the stigma around sexual abuse and people not wanting to speak out about what's going on around them. But some of the cases that have come out so far, much of the time, are domestic workers who have been sexually abused. That's besides physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and all kinds of abuse, because they're very, very vulnerable, and people feel they can deal with them and get away. And also because of the laxity or the irresponsibility of most of our law enforcement officers or the agencies. Not so. People just feel they can dehumanize them and do everything and then get away with it. So they are faced with all kinds of abuse. Many of them don't get a good education. We've encountered those who have become pregnant in the course of
working
domestic work. One of the cases that we cannot just classic cases we've encountered was a girl who was brought in from Benue. By the time she was brought to me, she was about 6 months pregnant.
6 months,
and she had worked in 4 houses, 5 to 6 months.
So
pregnant.
How old is she?
She was 16 at the time.
Wow.
She had worked in 4 houses that year, and out of the 4 houses, she had been sexually abused in 3 of them. So as at the time she got to the last house, she was about 4 months or so pregnant, and she couldn't walk. So after 3 weeks, they took her back to the motor park at Ido and said, please go back to Benue. They gave her 3,000 naira.
3,000 naira.
Yes, because she hadn't worked for up to a month, and maybe her salary maybe was 5,000 or 6. I can't remember. And so there was incidentally fuel scarcity, and so she couldn't go home. She couldn't. That money wasn't enough to transport her back to her village in Benue.
Of course.
And we didn't. When I saw her, she had spent over 2 weeks at the park, about a month actually at the park, and she had used up all the money. I had started supporting one woman that sold paraga
at the park.
So
that's
I brought her
to abuse.
And took her to NAPTIP and all of that. At the end of the day, she had to go back to Benue because NAPTIP did a very shoddy job with the case. So she went back home. And there are so many other cases. So they are in a very precarious condition, especially children. And these are children that are supposed to be the future of the country. These are children that should be left to become children, because they're actually children. These are children that should be in an ideal society, be with their parents.
Yes, getting care,
getting
education,
care,
protection.
getting education, protection they need to grow into responsible
Adults.
and safe, protected adults that would be able to, in a way, contribute to societal progress. But they are dehumanized, and some of them are desensitized. Some of them are demonized. Like not that they are called names, branded witches, all kinds of dehumanization.
Yes, some madams will tell you that is their girl that is responsible for their
one
lack
of the persons that is like an ambassador in these are domestic workers. We have a program actually on domestic workers. She had been to like 10 homes from the age of 6.
Oh my God!
When she was about 16 or so, and she didn't get a stable education. She went almost around the country, and one of the places she went, and she kept talking about it each time we had meeting, and she had to speak about her experience, to narrate her experience. A particular place she went, and the madam said that she had beaten her the previous day for mistakenly spilling hot water on the madam's. She was bringing hot water, and the madam's son ran across her, and part of the water splashed on him, and the woman took the water and poured on her face. The hot water. And a few days later, she called her and started beating her, and said that she came to her in her dream with her cohorts of witches to attack her, and then she beat her again.
Oh my God.
That she had a dream. I mean this is so it is just a horrible thing. But and then in Lagos in particular, we had also had to put about 200 children in school. The Okera primary school, about 200 children from a particular community, also in Benue, where that other girl that was pregnant came from. Thousands and thousands of children are brought in from that community, and they live around Lagos, and they hawk. And NAPTIP is aware of this, and they're doing absolutely nothing about it. So over the years, maybe there have been some programs of getting these children. They say they are rescuing them, sending them to the village. Just to let it look as if they're working. I can tell you that the next week, those children are back in the city. They're already used to the city. The parents are already used to collecting money every month from the agents. It has become an established system.
Business.
And so what we did was to reach a middle ground, where we met with we had series of meetings with the people that brought them from the villages. We call them their guardians. Not the agents, the families that live with. Because in the morning they'll go out to hawk, and those people's children will go to school.
Why they hawk?
Why these children hawk? The same age with their children. Rather, apart from working as domestic worker in the home, they hawk and bring money to this family. So we say these children will not continue to hawk without going to school. In the morning they'll go to school. After school in the evening, they can go and hawk. And so we monitor them. They are part of our summer school. Some of them were at our program earlier today, the painting program.
Amazing.
Okay, yes. And they've done so well. Some have transitioned to secondary school. They're doing excellently well. About 200 of them. And it's one of the work that I'm actually very proud of, to see that these children are in school and they're doing well. It's just amazing.
It's amazing.
But that is just the little that we could do. There are so many other domestic workers, still trapped in domestic servitude, still deprived of their childhood, still deprived of education, still deprived of the protection. The safeguarding they need as children that their counterparts are in other parts of the world, where the system is just, where there's sanity, because this is insanity.
Complete insanity.
See that millions and millions of Nigerian children are in domestic servitude, and there are agencies that they're supposed to regulate and prevent this from happening, and they're doing next to nothing. But at least we're happy that at least some of us are speaking against it and trying to reach out
some of the work
and make a little difference, though even if it looks like a drop.
No matter how little,
the problem.
It's a difference. No matter how
but what's the general working condition like with domestic workers? Maybe specifically in the area of wages.
Okay.
Do we have social protection?
Do they have rights?
Do they have rights? I just what about social protection?
Like I said
are
earlier,
they covered by a union? None of this.
So like I said earlier, domestic workers in general are some of the most endangered people in Nigeria, some of the most endangered working class, some of the most endangered people in general, because either some are killed in the process, like we had a girl who was killed during COVID-19 period by her madam. Yes, in the Bariga area of Lagos.
Wow.
She is just amazing. I tell a lot of stories. I'm sorry. Let me just talk
No,
about
it's
this.
No,
fine.
we need the
In fact,
stories.
I
She
appreciate
was
the
brought in
example.
again
Yes.
from Benue. I'm from Benue, so maybe that is why I'm attached. And incidentally, it's a reality.
Yes.
It's a very saddening
Yes.
statistics from that same community where we had to put children in school. I won't call the name so they don't call a local meeting on my head.
Community dialogue.
Okay, so she was brought in from Benue, and she had been walking around Lagos as a domestic worker. Her name is Joy AJ. Her name was Joy AJ. So she worked with this madam, and the madam was very, very bad to her, according to what she told the agent. So during the lockdown 2020, around May or so 2020, she stopped working and said she wasn't going to work for the madam again. That the madam was very harsh and was really overworking her and was very nasty to her. She wasn't going to work. So the madam called the agent and said, come and take this girl from my house. I don't want her in my house again. So the agent said, there's lockdown. There's no way I can come to your house to pick her. Just manage her till the lockdown is over. I'll come pick her. So the madam locked her in one of the children's room for about 3 days, starving her without food or water. And so she, without food or water, she was exhausted. She was starving. So
God.
she sneaked to the kitchen to take a pack of Indomie noodles to take. So the madam, not just to take the raw. Yes,
Wow.
she wasn't allowed out in the kitchen or anywhere. She was just locked up in the bedroom. So so the madam saw her eating the raw pack of the noodle and started beating her. So we don't know if it's belt or stick, but in the process she slumped and died instantly.
Jeez.
She was 16, Joy AJ.
16.
She was 17, sorry, she was 17. And so she slumped and died. And the madam and the husband were in a fix because this was COVID-19 period. There was lockdown. There was nowhere you were going to take the body that people will not see you, and you're not even allowed to go out. So they decided to frame a suicide narrative.
Jeez.
And hung her from the ceiling in that room where she stayed, and then called the police. By the time the police arrived, they saw her hanging from the ceiling, but her 2 legs were firmly on the floor. I mean, you don't die, you die by
What kind of suicide
accident.
is that?
You don't die by suicide without suffocating.
Of course.
Your 2 legs cannot be on the ground, and then you suffocate.
Yes.
So they suspected the foul play. So they untied her, brought her down. And while they were still checking, they discovered that she had a lot of bruises on her back. Fresh bruises, a lot on her back. So they took the man and the couple for questioning. And when they did the autopsy, they discovered that this was not suicide. This was exhaustion. She was exhausted. She was hungry. No water or anything for 3
Would have
days.
been dehydrated.
So I think as we speak, the couple, the 2 of them are still in Kirikiri prison.
Oh, at least they are in Kirikiri.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of these cases that just
and this
go
is because
like
it's in
that.
Lagos. This is because we took over as a media. We did a lot of media campaign and all of
Otherwise, they would
that.
have
There are
gotten away
so
with
many
it.
cases that
They have
happen
gone
to domestic
unreported.
workers unreported.
Yes,
No redress whatsoever.
of course.
Because they're working in homes and they're isolated workers. So there's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse. Some work after 6 months, they kick them out without paying them.
Without pay.
They say, after I've been feeding you. Some in the course of doing this, they lose out on education. So all kinds of abuse, all kinds of deprivation is alarming. It's alarming. And there's no social protection. Many of them leave and then they don't have anything. Right now, we're
You don't
engaging
even get your salary.
nothing,
What
no
do you want
salary,
to
no
get?
skills. So you're just like limping in a world that's so complicated and requires skills. No education, no skill, and they're grown into adults. So one of the things we've done was to start a program on domestic workers. So in the last few years, we've been creating awareness about domestic workers' condition. And then we also started, from last year, we started engaging with domestic workers directly. So we have meetings, several meetings.
and they attend. They are everywhere in our face. I remember, I don't know if you want to remember, of course you would remember. I remember in 2024 in Ogba,
Yeah.
College Road in Ogba. I was in my house and then the one just called me and said, Alpha, where you there? I there house now. What's up? Say, there's a girl here, oh, and she's crying. She ran into my compound. It was late in the night.
That's in the night.
On a
yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday.
She ran into my compound. I don't know where she came from. How do we undo this? What's going on? Okay, just take her to the nearest police station. So before then, he did some sort of questioning. What's your name? I'm not sure I remember her name.
Yeah, the girl. I can't. I
She
don't.
had a
I think
name,
her name
yeah.
is Grace.
Was it Grace? I think it was Grace.
her name
She was
is Grace.
13. Yes, 13 years old. Late in the night, ran into his compound. Do you live in this area? She said yes. She said she lives on
Just
the
few
same
blocks
street.
away.
Just few buildings away from his house.
Yeah.
She said she lives there. Are they your parents? She said no. She works there. So in the house, she's a cleaner.
yeah.
She's the nanny because she mentioned taking care of the baby,
Yeah.
the couple's baby, and all of that. So why did you run this night? And she accused the man, the husband of the madam, that he tried to touch her, that he had done it before, and then he wanted to do it again that night. And then when he was not watching, she had to
Run
run
away.
out of the house.
God.
So she ran away late in the night, and he was able to, take her to the police station, Area G police station at Ogba. And the next day, which was a Sunday, both of us had to, go there. And from our findings, she also came from
I
one
think she came
village
from Delta.
from Delta State. And then she said that when they were bringing her, they said she was coming to go to school
Yes.
in Lagos. And when she got to Lagos, she became the cleaner, the cook, the nanny. She was doing everything. So she said the husband would go to work, the wife would also go to work, and then she was left at home to take care of the child. So it was a situation of a child taking care of another child. Because what does a 13-year-old know?
No.
So she also mentioned that the madam of the house was a nurse.
Yes.
So when she goes on night duties, she's home alone with the man, and then he touches her and all sorts. It was a very crazy situation because it didn't go the way we thought it would go. The man was arrested.
Yeah, I think he spent 1 month in
We were
prison.
able to get him arrested because he had actually walked into the police station by himself to make a report of a missing child. Unknowing to him, the child was at the police and they had already given the details. So when he came, police just grabbed him like, we've been looking for you.
Now you with the
So
fine.
he entered by himself, went to take the child for tests at Mirabel Center. Shout out to Mirabel Center.
Yeah,
They've been very
wonderful.
helpful with the work they do. Unfortunately, in the middle of questioning but before our courts began to sit on the matter, she changed her statement.
The girl changed her statement.
Yes.
Oh my God. She
Because-
went back to that house.
No, she didn't go to the
I think
house. We took
they
her
called
to
her- they called her mom.
DSVA.
Yeah.
We took her to
DSVA, okay.
Lagos DSVA. They provided a temporary shelter.
Shelter.
For her. Okay.
And they had to bring down her mother from Delta
Village,
State.
Okay.
The moment her mother came, she discussed with the child, a mother-child conversation.
That's changed.
My
And
God.
before we knew it, she changed her statement and
My
said the man
God.
never touched her.
My
The man has
God.
never touched her before. She was lying. God, I cried there.
I hope she didn't go back to that house.
She did
no,
not,
she
but
didn't
we
have-
don't know what eventually happened. Although the mother took her with her back to Delta State, but till date we don't know
It's
what
possible they
became.
had threatened her.
Yes, that was
Change the
what we
narrative,
because
yeah.
we were going to court. The man was tried to court. We were at the court, I think about 2 times,
Yes.
and then he was discharged and acquitted. And I
When
cried.
there's nobody to complain.
Yes, there was no complainant, no witness,
It
nothing.
happens all the time. It's depressing.
Yeah, it's
Well, it's
very
really good that you raised the alarm,
course,
took
you
on
know.
the case, and she was taken away from that environment.
Yes.
Then she should go back to her place, no matter how poor, impoverished her
She will
home
manage
is.
with her
that
family.
she just manage so that she can be a
She will
child
manage
again.
with her family.
So from
Actually.
your experience, what do you think the government can do to better the experiences
Yeah.
of domestic workers and particularly protect them, especially those who are hired
I think it's even
through
about those. The government
platforms.
even recognize their
Yes.
existence.
So yeah, these are other nuances to it.
Incidentally,
Yes.
there's there are two different acts, different laws or acts that are in the
addresses them.
house, that not in the House of Representatives. Each in the House of one in the House of Representatives, one in the Senate. In fact, the one in the Senate at the second hearing, our organization was called to submit a memorandum, make recommendation in the process of formulating it into an act on the documentation and protection of domestic workers in Nigeria. Because it's very clear that Nigeria is lagging behind internationally when you talk about the protection of domestic workers, the rights of domestic workers, decent work, and all of that. Because as far back as 2011, the ILO facilitated or established the Domestic Workers' Rights Act or Convention, the Convention on the Rights of Domestic Workers, Convention 189, which came out in 2011. But Nigeria is a signatory but has never domesticated it. If it has domesticated it, I think domestic workers in Nigeria will be in a better position because it outlines everything about decent pay, about working hour. In other countries where this is active, domestic workers are supposed to work for 8 hours.
They work 24 hours here.
But in here, there's no, I mean, you work as long as you are working on your feet.
You up, while you are sleeping
as
in
you
the
not drop
midnight,
dead, you are still working. You are the first to wake up and the last to sleep.
Yes.
And then there are specific, the law talks about specific the specific tax. And you sign contract that specifies your tax, your job
description.
So you can't do anything outside of that.
So if you are supposed to be a washerman, washerwoman, you cannot be sweeping or washing car or barbing the children's hair or plating them or
take them on
cooking.
walks,
but what happens is that when you are a domestic worker, you are like
you are doing everything.
Beast of burden. Is it gbogbo
nishe? Beast of burden.
You do everything. and then the pay is so small. Some people will receive as low as 15,000 naira.
Yes.
We had a meeting with domestic workers, like I say, in Lagos about a month ago, and someone, Bimbo Shobe, drew our attention to the fact that in many of these big people's houses, their dog food is more expensive than the money they pay domestic workers. Some spend as much as 200,000, 300,000 to feed their dogs in a month, and then they pay domestic workers 20,000 in that same house. So imagine the provision for or compensation for human being and your welfare for a dog, an animal. It doesn't make any sense. Absolutely
I think
senseless.
some will even tell them that if they want good pay, either they pick about 30 to 40,000 payment and feed themselves, or they pay them 20,000 and they will give them food. So you have to pick one.
So the convention outlines all of these things, and especially the pay, and then there's dignity of labor. There's zero tolerance for abuse of any kind. You could report your employer for insulting you, not just physical assault.
Report them to where?
So their agencies, their unions. If, for instance, we have domestic workers union, they can escalate it to government agencies.
I mean in Nigeria.
No, not yet in Nigeria. That is what the convention says. But Nigeria hasn't domesticated it. So we are hoping that the country will domesticate it, and these two laws will be passed in the National Assembly, and we'll follow it up consciously, we'll follow it up religiously to ensure that it's implemented, to ensure that it's enforced, and that domestic workers will have their rights. And I think one of the acts recommended the establishment of an agency dedicated to domestic workers' welfare. So I believe that talking about this, creating awareness, creating consciousness, even among domestic workers about their rights, will go a very, very long way.
Yes.
It may not be easy, but I think with time, we will see a lot of change. Especially because many of the domestic workers are not even aware of their rights.
Yes.
We are beginning to create the awareness, and then there's some kind of many people are not really optimistic. Some kind of cynicism. Some people said So people have told me, how is it going to work when domestic workers, most of them work in isolation in the homes? They are basically invisible workers. If they are abused, how will people know? How will they reach out to unions when they don't even have any time? I think with time, things will change.
Some are not allowed to use phones.
Yes, so I think with time, people will begin. In Abuja, for instance, we had a domestic worker coming from Dape, one of the areas, to our office in Kurudu for the first meeting, and we talk about their rights, and they need to report to relevant agencies. Even for now, they can report to police and all of that. So the NGO person, the activists that brought her, because during the meeting she narrated about being owed 6 months by her employer and then thrown out without the payment. So the activist that brought her, Sarah Hillary, went to confront the employer and said, I'm from a domestic workers union. You are owing this woman 6 months, this young woman 6 months
without
salary, without payment. We're going to report you to the police. We'll take you up with our agency. And the woman quickly paid the money. Yes, after
so
a
like
meeting in Abuja, sometimes in July last year. So I think people just need that consciousness, that awareness, and gradually, I think that we're going to see change. But for now, we're not in the best of their conditions are not really the best. There's a lot of dehumanization, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of impunity because they think that they are powerless, they are voiceless. So they get all kinds of very low wages and there are no written contracts as to the time, as to the specificity of the jobs, and no form of dignity at all. In places like Dubai, domestic workers are highly paid. And there's dignity. It's something that people look forward
to do domestic work.
And they have unions. I mean, they're doing so well.
Even in the UK, in the US.
Our people travel to the UK to do domestic work.
So I would say generally that the impunity that we see in various professions is magnified. Because in most of the professions, even in teaching jobs, in nursing, driving, you've talked about your experience having a podcast session with Uber drivers.
Yes,
there's a lot of impunity. People do things because of the state of our law enforcement agencies, where the people with the higher financial power have the upper hands. So people feel they can do anything just to bribe. They will just bribe their way out. I can deal with you. I can kill you, and nothing will happen. Who I am? You know who I am. So it happens everywhere. But I would say that in the case of domestic workers, because they're basically like what one economist talked about, described as the bottom million. They are the very lowest rung of the ladder, economically speaking, socially speaking. These are people from very poor homes trying to eke a living. So they know that these people are powerless, these people are voiceless, and then they do. That is, I mean, how do you starve someone's child for 3 days?
For 3 days.
And for taking a pack of noodle, you beat her to death. That goes to show the attitude to that person that you are powerless.
Impunity.
And you are nothing. Because she could never have done that to her own child. It's not possible.
Or the child of a powerful person.
You have a child, someone that is, 13 years working in the house, servicing everybody. Meanwhile, the 13-year-old children in that same house will not do anything. They will not leave.
They won't wake up until 8 a.m.
It doesn't make any sense.
You are away
so
from
that kind of abnormality has to be stopped with this kind of consciousness when we have union, and then we ensure that we don't have children in domestic servitude anymore, because the ILO recommends adults as domestic workers from 18 years, not underage children. But one of the problematic area we've had with regards to age of domestic workers is the Nigerian labor law, which recommends 13. That a 13-year-old can work. Yes.
Wow. I never knew that.
But must not do hazardous job.
That needs to be
that is not clear. And we're trying to, we've been calling for the review of that law. Because if there's any country in the world where domestic workers should be from the age of 18, where they are strong enough, where they are matured enough, where they are discerning enough, and can speak on their own and can take decision on their own. It should be Nigeria, where people are from 18 above, if not 20. If not 20. not 13-year-old. A 13-year-old is extremely vulnerable. There shouldn't be anything about the person should not be exposed to hazardous job. Once they get into the house, I mean, they can it's hazardous. They can do all kinds of work, and then you have no legal framework to challenge that kind of thing, because they will come with a smart lawyer and say, have you looked at the law? The law say 13. What are you talking about? This guy is 15. It's even over 13. So it's something that really needs to be addressed. That age, there's no reason why any 13-year-old should work anywhere.
They should be in school.
Government should improve the living standard of their parents so they stay with them.
So they don't have to go out and
they
work.
have to work.
No, 13-year-old should even be in school.
It should be in school.
Yeah,
It should be in school. So I think that
you as a 13-year-old cooking for a family of 5.
Problematic areas, but I think that with the consciousness we're creating about the rights of domestic workers, about the need for unionization, and referring to ILO 189 and shaming the abusers, calling government to account as far as implementing the law is concerned, that we're going to see some change. It may take time. What we're doing may, like as I said earlier, be like a drop in a vast ocean of impunity, of illegality. But then I believe that at the end,
I believe so too.
There will be a change,
We're
and we'll all be happy.
Wow.
We're optimistic. Please,
It's been an interesting conversation.
I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, it's been a very, very interesting conversation.
Yes, very
And it will really be good to have you back sometime.
I think I will.
Yeah.
I will. I'm never tired of talking about informalities, about people, the bottom millions,
We'll always
people
be
that
here
are
to help you
oppressed, the
too.
voiceless, because we can't say we're progressive as a country when a vast number, the vast majority, are not only voiceless but are continuously, repeatedly, consistently oppressed. We really have to speak truth to power.
Something has to be done.
Yeah, something has to change.
Something has to be done. Thank you very, very much for coming on this conversation with us. So, if you are a cleaner, I know Juwan has a woman that helps him to wash clothes. You are in the category of the privilege.
She's an older woman.
She's an older woman. But Juwan I don't like when Juwan identifies as a part of the masses. If you are able to pay someone to wash your clothes,
I am proudly masses.
You are privileged. So, if you are a laundry person, you are the one we commonly call washman, washwoman, a cleaner, a nanny, a gardener, security guards, gatemen, cooks. Just know that there is always somewhere you belong to. You are not alone. So you should not live in isolation. You should not work in isolation. Do not hold up issues. When there are issues affecting you, always remember that you can speak out. And when you do speak out, there are people like Comrade Betty Abba and a whole lot of other people who will be willing to listen to your story, take up your case, work with you, not work for you. Because you also have to be willing as a person. You also have to be willing. So always remember, like we always say, for every worker, there is definitely a union for you. Thank you for coming on the show. Please don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, share our links to every of your network and community.
And most importantly, if you are a domestic worker facing precarious working conditions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out. See you some other time. Bye. Oh my God. Chimo.